Thank you for giving me an opportunity to share my impressions on this wonderful book that has been a learning experience, not just for me, but for a whole lot of women who have benefited from its wisdom. The book I'm talking about is called Rtu Vidya by Sinu Joseph. She talks about a topic which is very intimate to women, but it has a lot of mixed feelings around it. And for men, well, some are genuinely interested to find out what this is. Some don't know what to do about it, but overall, there's a certain sense of innovation and awkwardness. Ritu means seasons, but it is also one of the terms in Sanskrit for menstruation. Menstruation is the core of being a female. It is at the core of being a feminine. From the time the first child was born on this planet, this is a phenomenon which is happening in a woman's body. And how did Sinuji decide to write a book about it? As a social worker, she had stepped out to teach rural women about menstrual hygiene. Instead, she found out that most of the rural women in India followed certain practices like seclusion, avoided cooking, visiting temples, touching other people, avoided physical labor, followed a special diet, and basically just rested during their monthly cycle. The surprising aspect was that they enjoyed not just better menstrual health, but also a very healthy, positive attitude towards menstruation compared to their urban counterparts. So this got her thinking, and she conducted a little research of her own with a data citing 1,000 plus women in rural and urban in Bangalore, in and around Bangalore district. In her words, what is noteworthy is that women and girls from urban Bangalore had a highest percentage of negative attitude, 26%, compared to women and girls from rural areas, just about 15%, who looked at menstruation as a negative thing. She says, I recall my own interview with a rural woman who would smile. Sometimes these women would feel shy, but mostly say that menstruation has been a very positive occurrence in their lives. In stark contrast, the urban women she interviewed would arrogantly shoot back a question. Why on earth should anyone feel positive about menstruation? Now, what is it about indigenous knowledge and culture that has enabled a very positive and almost reverential attitude towards menstruation? And why is it so difficult and different from the stressful, stigmatized notion that is circulated online with modern education and urban lifestyle? This particular book is an attempt by Sinuji to bridge that gap and help us understand two important concepts and aspects. Firstly, why does a woman menstruate? What is menstruation? What is happening in her body that causes her to bleed every month? And what is the basis of these cultural practices around menstruation, like isolation, not visiting temples? What are these practices followed by women in India? And the way she explains this whole complex topic is in the most simplest of manner, like a passionate, compassionate mother who is trying to explain a child that 2 plus 2 is equal to 2, and you keep writing 5, but she keeps on explaining very patiently how to go about it. Now, Sinuji explores this topic through the eyes of Āyurved, the Cakra Śāstra, the mantras, the Tantra Śāstra, and a whole lot of scriptures from the Indic geography, the Indic civilization. Why does she base her studies on Ayurved or on these Shastras? Because, please understand, Ayurved is also another indigenous system of well-being, wellness, and something that talks about avoiding a disease versus curing it. So this system is based, and the menstrual practices that came about were based on Ayurveda. Now, how does she do that? Understanding the kind of world we live in, she uses evidence-based experience, a very scientific way of exploring this. And then she brings forth the logic and reasoning on why these practices existed, and she encourages you to try them for yourself. Try these practices, see at your own pace, how are you going to benefit? Is it good for you? Does it work for you? Now, good health, we all understand, is the result of a balance. Ayurveda believes that it is a balance of the self and the environment. You do not exist in isolation. So therefore, we are affected by environment. Women are affected by Plants, trees, hills, mountains, celestial things like the sun, the moon, the stars, all these things affect us. Hence, when you read through the book, you realize there's a lot of information about the origin of these practices based on a lot of factors around you. And as you read through the book, and if you get to also practice some of these things, you will realize that that these practices are very holistic and they're aimed towards the well-being of a woman, but they're so grossly misunderstood because of lack of proper information. And the thing is, what we do not understand, we either call it mystic, we either call it magic, or at best we call it a taboo. It's like for a few years back, mental health was one of those topics that nobody wanted to talk about. But as people got more information and gained more knowledge about it, we started talking openly about it. In Ayurved, there's a section called Rajasvana Parichay, which actually deals with everything, all the practices that a woman can do, and the do's and don'ts are listed in here when you are going through your monthly cycle. I will not be able to describe a lot of deep concepts like the oxidative stress that a female body goes through during the time of menstruation, but I would encourage you to explore it through this book to understand what is happening inside your system and inside your body. Two things I would like to share here, which really appeal to me because they're very simple in a very layman's language. Menarche, which is the first period of an adult female. In India, in a lot of cultures, in South India, in Manipur, in Assam, in Andhra Pradesh, they celebrate the first period of a female with a lot of festivity around it. She is dressed up, she's given a lot of gifts, there are relatives who come there, it's almost like a festival happening in the house. The basis of this particular practice is in Ayurveda. Ayurveda stresses on the individual's ability to shape their health based on their thoughts and feelings. That is the reason why all efforts are made that when a little girl is going through this first time, everything around her should be happy. So the memory of this stays with her. If the first memory of the period is stressful or painful, it can trigger similar responses in her subsequent periods. This is very simple. It is simple to understand, and this is the basis why this practice came about. The other concept in Ayurveda, which is very interesting, is a concept of Āgama. Āgama, as she describes, is actually something which is to deal with internal toxins. The word Āgama means internal toxins in Ayurveda. It is a residue of a food that we are, consuming on a daily basis. Some of it is digested, some of it is partially digested, some of it just stays in our system and then just, is there. We all understand the value of detox. When we have partied enough, we all talk about going for detox, eating leaves or being only on water, things like that. So we understand that internal toxins are a harbinger of diseases, so regular detox is a must. Ayurveda understands menstruation as an important process because it causes the removal of accumulated through menstruation and it cleanses the body. I know it. So why I was speaking about this is because if somebody had explained this to me when I was 13 or 14 and I had my first period, probably I would have looked at things very different. Ayurveda considers menstruation as an important process because it causes the removal of accumulated and cleanses the body. This process is exclusive to women because of the requirement of a healthy womb in preparation of bearing a child. Do you see the connection between menstruation and the cleansing of toxins? Now, we regularly cleanse our system through, sinus, sweating, your, lungs. All these are the natural places where the cleansing naturally happens. But when a woman is menstruating and the R is being pushed out of her system, at that point in time, she goes through something like this. Either she's nauseating or she's vomiting, and most often than not, she has a lot of menstrual cramps, abdominal cramps. So the indication here is if you have excessive Āgama, you will have difficult, discomforting menstrual period. How do you resolve something like this? For Ayurveda, a healthy menstrual cycle is the sign of good health. But if you're having issues, problems, it means you are having excessive toxins in your body. What do? 2 to 3 weeks before your periods have to start eating healthy. Don't get into junk food. Start making sure that your body is kept on a good diet, good sleep, happy, and living and basically avoiding stress. Over a period of 3 to 4 months, you will see a marked difference in your monthly periods. Now, this is what I find very, very fascinating, that something so simple and something so unique to our country, to our land, and an education or knowledge which every woman should have is not something common. And everybody looks at all these practices. And the minute you have discovered, the first thing you do is for a pill, which means you take more chemicals in the system without actually healing yourself. Now, there is also one more way of finding out, like Ayurveda says, of finding out what your body. So, stay. We all talk about stay, that, it's not a good thing. In Ayurveda, staying is considered good. So what they do is, earlier women would actually put a menstrual pad on a cotton cloth, dry it, and then try to wash it off with water. If it washes off easily without leaving a mark, it means the Āgama system is very nice. But if it doesn't wash off, it leaves a mark, it means the Āgama body is excessive, which means you need to take care of it. You need to take care of your health, because excessive toxin in your body is going to lead to some other disease in the future. So this is fascinating, because a good menstrual cycle is a sign, overall sign of a woman's mental physical well-being. So if you can pay attention to something simple like this, sort it. Now, for men and women, I would encourage you to, teach your talk, to tell your daughters, women in your life, in your office, wherever they are, to talk about this subject so that they can eventually help themselves, rather than rushing out to doctors and trying to fill themselves up with things which eventually will hurt them more. Now, the best discovery for me in this book was to learn about 2 temples unique to India: the Kamakhya temple in Assam and the Changanur Bhagavati temple in South India. The beauty of Kamakhya temple, I'm not going to go into deep discussion about it. The temple is 2,500 years old. Inside, when you go into the sanctum sanctorum, there is no deity. There's a stone which is shaped in the form of a female vagina. It is moist throughout the year, and the mother, she bleeds once a year on the day of summer solstice. A culture that celebrated women, a culture that created such beautiful temples. Why should a subject like that should be a subject of awareness today? Of course, when I'm saying this, you're thinking, how can the mother bleed? How can these things happen? So just a little bit here, before people leave without thinking that it's all temples in ancient India were built on these springs or water bodies. So this particular temple is on a water body on the day of the summer solstice. I don't know how they think that it's going to happen on this day. The conditions around, the environmental situation, the conditions around is such that the temperature is high, the water rises, and because the water in that area is rich in minerals, iron oxides, and sulfur, the water which flows out is red in color. So that is the basis of it. So if anybody says it's like a, magical temple or something, it's not. There's a lot of scientific base on that. I want to end this by paying a tribute to the women in this country who have actually, through their thousands of years, maintained these practices, and they the beautiful Rajasthana Parichayas to the grandmothers of rural India, the keepers of our culture and tradition. Through their faith we heal, through their wisdom we learn, through their discipline we return to our roots. Oh, what would be the ignorant modern women do without them? Thank you very much. Sinu ji has been a great inspiration, and I hope she guides us through her wisdom.